Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Get to Know Them. I am so delighted and happy to have you here. If this is your first time tuning in, I am your host, Monica Graves, and this show, Get to Know Them, is a show that I created to talk to some of my most favorite people and give them a platform to share their stories and in turn inspire you. So I hope you enjoy the next 45 minutes to an hour with us, with our guest today. And we are celebrating women all month long and beyond, of course. And I have the most incredible Wonder Woman here to talk to you today. You are going to love, love, love what my guest has to share with you. And you're just going to feel amazing. But before I introduce her to you, I wanted to talk to you about the clothes I'm wearing. This line of clothing, it's called Brenda Bedome, and Brenda is an amazing Canadian designer located in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. Go and check out her clothing line. She makes beautiful things. And the thing I love about her is you can feel dressed up and comfortable all at the same time. So her website is brendabedome.com. Use the coupon code Get to Know Them for 22% off of your order. And while you're at it, sorry, I'm losing my train of thought. So our other show sponsor is actually me, glamjewels.com. And today I'm wearing a lovely little necklace in support of Halton Women's Place. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit more about that when I get our guest on the show. So let's not wait any longer. Let's introduce Whitney Hammond. Oh my gosh, I am so excited, you guys, to have her on. So, Whitney is principal of Sovereign Wealth Management. She has been in personal practice for over 26 years. Whitney is a recognized leader in the Canadian financial planning field and a frequent speaker at events focusing on estate planning. Whitney is also the founder of From Wallet to Wealth, a group created to speak to women to help mentor, educate, and inspire women to live and lead empowered lives. In the last 4 years, her gala event has raised over $170,000 for Halton Women's Place. Whitney is always encouraging women to pursue their passions and reach for their dreams. Whitney followed her own advice when she became a pilot in 2012. In 2022, she attended SimCom and got her turbine engine rating. As we continue to celebrate women this month, Whitney is proof that we really can do it all. And here she comes. Whitney, yay!
Hello,
I'm
Monica.
so happy to see you. I got all tongue twisted there.
Sorry about the technical issues there. That was my
No,
fault.
don't worry about it at all. You know what? This is one thing I love about live is you don't have to be perfect. You can just be ourselves and it's all fine and good. It's all
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Yeah. So Whitney, I'm so excited. You have been a guest on my show. You were a great support to me when I first started back in 2020. You were on the show and you gave us really great advice about managing our money and which was awesome. So anybody who wants to go back and listen to that interview, you can do that. And we may touch on those things a little bit today. But what I'm so excited to talk to you about today is your journey to becoming a pilot, which is just freaking awesome. You're such a trailblazer. So before we get to that, though, I do have to ask you the first question I ask all my guests. And
Sure.
that is, what did little Whitney want to be when she grew up?
Oh, yeah.
Ah,
Rich.
is
Yeah.
that right?
Yeah. From the
Okay.
age of 2, it was overwhelming. Yeah. Yeah.
Amazing.
It drove me. I
Yeah.
didn't, I had, what's interesting is that I had incredible visions of managing like massive, massive amounts of money. And so that just went through my life. And I was thinking like, wow, where am I going to get all this money from? And it's kind of cool because so I didn't know
Yeah.
that I guess somewhere in my body knew, and it turned out. I mean, I have a very large investment practice, so I am managing massive amounts of money. So yeah, yeah.
Wow. I
Mhm.
love that. That is incredible.
Yeah, I got to do it for a living.
Yes, that's right. And you do it so well. And I did want to acknowledge something about you, Whitney. Like you are, when people talk about the real deal, you are the real deal. I mean, you have a tight knit group of close friends, but then you also have this group from Wallet to Wealth that you have built where you're encouraging women to lift each other up. But what I want to say about you being the real deal is you're not the kind of person that just puts content out there or says, and it's all look at me, and I'm just going to keep putting more content out. You're also the cheerleader. So a lot of people may not know this about Whitney, but she's doing it, like you're doing your own social media stuff. Like I can't believe it when I go on my social media and there's a comment from Whitney, hey, you did this really great interview today, great this, great that. Like you actually take the time to
Yeah,
acknowledge the
I do.
women in your, and that is huge because that's the magic, like that's what makes us all just want to be a part of everything you do because you genuinely care about people. So I think that's rare and I wanted to acknowledge it. It's absolutely incredible.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
called reciprocation, right? Is that the word?
Yeah.
Reciprocate.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to reciprocate. Anybody that is, chatting on social media, because we have people talking to us all the time. They're dropping it into our box, telling us what we need and what we should do. And my dog that was just dying, oh, everybody had something to save my dog. Yeah, right.
Hmm. Yeah.
I've been, been an entrepreneur for 39 years, and I've ran this company for 26. And I can tell all the Facebook people that are, dropping stuff in. My business is about relationships, and I see my clients on a regular basis. We actually have a relationship, and I walk a journey with them through their entire lives until the end of their lives. So we do a ton of estate planning at Sovereign Wealth Management, and it's not about telling people you should have this or you should do that or whatever. It's all about sorry, my dog. It's all about building relationships. And why would you want to do that? Well, because I want my life to be rich and full and deep and meaningful. And when I help another person and make a change in their life, that's the win. That's the payoff.
Mm.
It's not the paycheck. Money is flowing everywhere. I don't think money makes people happy. You can buy things with it and you can do things with it, but you can't change your psyche. So if you're an ass, you're an ass. If you're sad, you're sad. If you're happy, you're happy. But really what makes us happy is when we get out of ourselves and we help another person. Stop thinking about us.
Yes. Yeah, that is so true. And that is such a good reminder because we do that. And, even like post pandemic and everything, like everyone's looking at themselves. Am I doing this right? Doing that right? Like we're making judgments on other people, judgments on ourselves. And you're right. It's all about just forget about yourself, go help someone
Yeah,
else.
go help somebody else. What's
Yeah.
really cool too is like when I think about it, it's like you and I met on social media. I've met a lot of ladies on and guys because a lot of pilots and stuff. I've met a ton
Hmm.
of people on social media, and I've been able to develop like really deep relationships. So the people that I'm closest to, I mean, like I've always been close to you. You can tell, like we're friends, right? Like,
Yeah.
and I've never hit on you, like. He's
Yeah.
like, I'm not trying to get Monica Graves as a client. I'm good
Yeah.
friends with you, and I wanted to help you to, if anything that where I could help you to get the jewelry moving and getting to
Yeah.
make meaning. Oh darn it, I don't have the Wallet to Wealth bracelet. I should
Oh,
have.
I'm wearing it.
Okay,
I'm
there.
wearing it.
So
Yeah.
the bracelet and the necklace.
Yeah.
And what I notice is that when we get together at the, our monthly events, the ladies are
Hmm.
showing up with their bracelets on. And I mean, it's like
Hmm.
it's a sisterhood. Like it's,
Yes.
like it's just, and so it means something that, you've got your own creation out there with those little wallets on it that a bunch of
Yeah.
us are wearing, and we connected and we became really cool friends together, so we're networking
Hmm.
together, and I'm sure lots of us are doing business back and forth, but that's not the reason for me why I started any of this. It was just I
Yeah.
like people. So yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I think it's amazing. And your events are fantastic. Like for people who are not yet following you, I mean, I want them to know, you have a great interview series,
Yep.
which is so empowering. Like you do a couple of different ones, but the one I'm speaking about is the one you do with Wendy Holmes, where you talk about manifesting money and just the way that we feel energetically about different things. So you're really looking at things from a completely different perspective, and you are also using your that great feminine energy that you have, because you work in a male dominated industry, so things could come across very black and white. But I remember one of the most beautiful things you said to me, Whitney, was when I had first met you. You said, you know you said you're so fortunate because your creations are your investments. Like everything you create, you're just creating from nothing, and that's, you got to invest in yourself,
Yep.
and that's your biggest asset. And I was like, oh wow, well, that's pretty cool. So I just like the perspective that you have on things, and you make um investing and like the whole thing less daunting. And you
It's
also
because
take the
it's
shame out of
fun.
it.
It's
Yes,
fun,
you
Monica.
make it
It's fun.
fun. And a lot of women don't see it as fun. They feel ashamed. Credit cards are racked up. I have this debt. I should have done this differently. What the hell? Like eh, you
Yeah.
take that all away.
It reminds me just I pick up people when I'm traveling, and I picked up this couple in Harbor Island in Bahamas, and it's just kind of because I
Mm.
just talk to people. And anyway, so they came for dinner, and so chatting, and so of course everybody wants to know, not me, but everyone wants to know what I do for a living. So was
Yeah.
it was interesting because I asked the girl, like, tell me about your career, and she's an interior designer, and she charges $150 an hour, and I said, are you kidding me? Like, I mean, I've done some pretty major designing in my home and my lake house and my commercial building that I own, and I'm telling you, I never paid anybody $150 an hour. Like I paid in the thousands for my work, and it's cool what I have. And she says to me, no, I don't want to make any more than that. So I don't want any more money than that. And I'm like, oh, that's like, uh, what do they say? Like trying to chew bubble gum and do cartwheels with your hands or something. Like it's like
Yeah.
I don't get that. Like I don't get
Yeah.
that. Man, people charge what you're worth because other people are doing
Hmm.
it.
They are doing it.
Mhm.
That's actually, I'd love to ask you about that. You know, and I can only speak from personal experience, but I'm sure people can hear this and then maybe relate it to their own thing. But, I've always had this jewelry collection. It's been within a certain price point, and now I'm starting to create these like magnificent pieces
Yeah.
that are taking me hours to do. And the content, they have gemstones and they have crystals. And now I'm like, I got to get comfortable with $1,000 and up on these pieces, because they are worth that, and it's so interesting. So now I sort of had this talk track in my head where when those pieces aren't moving, I'm like, that's okay. They just haven't found their neck yet. They
Yeah.
haven't found the owner or whatever. But I'm really, I'm journaling about it. I'm believing in it. It's something
Oh
new
yeah,
to
like look,
build.
there could be a real nice one on me right now. You can cover
Exactly.
up
Yeah.
my scar from my thyroid surgery.
There you go.
You could make you could make jewelry for because there's a lot of ladies who have had thyroid surgery.
Yeah. Yeah. That's right. That could be a whole other, but that's sort of like, I think we all need this opportunity to stretch outside of outside of the
Absolutely.
$150 an hour or whatever it is. Like,
Yeah, ladies, step up and don't be afraid of money. There was a time, if you go back, about, I don't know what it was. I'm going to make it up, 50 years ago or 70 years ago, whatever it was. Like, women didn't even want to talk about sex. They didn't want to own their
Yeah.
sexuality. And today we own our sexuality. And I mean, it's one of the greatest things that we own, right? I mean, guys can't do what we do. So, and they always say that, I wish I could do what you do. So anyways, it's the same thing with the money. Like, just step into it and own it. You want to lead? You know, you got to charge for it. I heard on the radio, you know, because the International's Women's Day, and one of the interviewer was saying that they had interviewed a lot of women, and they came up with the top 3 things that women wanted, and they wanted. Let me see if I can remember this. They wanted. They wanted a raise, and they wanted more flexible hours, and they wanted a promotion. Those were the top 3 things. Now, it's really important for women to hear this, because when you ask a man about what he wants in the workplace, they're not asking for flexible hours, because they can't wait to get to work. And they're not leaving till 7 or 8 at night. You think the president of the TD Bank works 8 hours a day? Not a chance. So the thing is that in order to be able to achieve things in our life, you know, the flexible work hours, well, okay, you know what? I wanted flexible work hours 39 years ago when I started out as an entrepreneur. And that's why I became an entrepreneur. I wanted flexible work hours so I could have children, raise a family. And so I did that. I don't know if I would have been able to do that in a salaried position, because they don't always give you that flexibility. So, and as far as like, you know, wanting a better title and a raise and stuff like that, are you kidding me? I wasn't going to ask anybody for that. I'll just do it myself, right? Like, you know, like I want that. So I'm going to go and get it, right? The same thing as, you know, I wanted my turbine engine rating. You know what? I had to fight for that. So I have it, right? So just go get it.
God.
Go get it, and don't let anything or anybody stop you. But man, if you're going to ask the person above you, can I work less? Can I come in less? Can you give me a raise? And at the same time, can I have a promotion? Well, you know what? That's why we're down here.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you got to create your own destiny.
Yeah.
So, Whitney, best question asked for you. Whatever made you want to fly?
Oh, probably like survival. Because I went for a couple of flights back in you know, I don't know what year it was, 2012, or no, it must have been 2011. Yeah. And I went for a couple of flights, and oh my gosh, I was terrified. Like, I was so terrified I couldn't even speak. Yeah, it was just
So
crazy.
somebody else was flying, like you were the passenger with one
Yeah.
other person.
Yeah. I was
Okay.
terrified. And I thought, like, I'm going to have to learn how to, oh shoot, I'm going to have to learn how to do this. Someone's knocking at my door. Anyways,
If you need to get it, go ahead. I can talk
talk for
while
1 second. It's just a repair guy.
Yeah.
Just a second.
Okay. No problem. So this is really exciting. I do want to talk to Whitney about her adventure in becoming a pilot, because I mean, that's not something a lot of us do. And when you hear about how many times she's been up in the air and landed her airplane, it's going to blow your mind. And Amy is here, and Brian is here. Amy and Brian, I think you guys are together, right? Yes, I think so. So thank you for watching. This is so great. And for those of you, Amy Bell has been on the show before. She has an amazing magazine. Amy's just chimed in.
Oh,
So everybody needs to check out Amy's magazine, and Whitney is she writes in that magazine for Amy. So
I do. And
yeah,
I write all my articles when I'm flying. So it's kind of interesting, because when, yeah, and
so cool.
you can fly and do other things at the same time. But
Yeah.
anyways, when Amy asked me about writing the article, so I consider myself not to be a writer because I'm my, you know, my big claim to fame is math. I was a real math geek in school. And so, but I didn't want to let Amy down because I love her. She's the most creative person. And so I thought, you know what, I'm going to do this. And really, I didn't think that I fit into the magazine because when I looked at the other people, but anyhow, it worked out really, really well, except for this repairman in my house. So, so I love writing the article, and Amy's just recently changed the name of the magazine.
Okay, so what's the new name now?
Amy, chime in here. It's Colors of Entrepreneurs, I think.
Okay. Yeah, and I'm excited. She's so sweet. I'm a featured artist in her next one coming out in April. So yeah,
Perfect.
this is really cool. But yeah, you've written some awesome articles and you're always up in the air. So that's so neat.
Yeah, and the whole
Yeah.
thing about those articles are really how to, right? So if somebody were to read those and apply what I'm saying to their lives, to their business, because those are all of the things that I've done. And so there's years and years of experience in those articles that I'm writing, and Amy helped me to bring it down to kind of like a 101 so that people will understand what I'm talking about.
Oh, that's perfect. So Amy's just said the name remains the same, but the target is now soul-based entrepreneurs. So that's
So
yeah.
yes, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's awesome.
So
So
you were asking me about flying. So
yeah.
I'm gonna put my dog. I'm so sorry. I'm gonna put my dog in the backyard.
That's
This
okay.
guy is knocking. I'm gonna get rid of him, and we're gonna be fine.
No problem, no problem. Oh, there's the link, everybody. So we broadcast to YouTube after, so I'm just going to read it out. It's unitedcolorsofdesignmag.com and then / read / e-magazine. So you can check it out there. Thank you, Amy. I'm so glad you chimed in with that. And I didn't know that until today that when Whitney writes her articles for you, she's up in the air. That is so cool. That's amazing. What a beautiful place to write. Because, yeah, talk about solitude.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I get, you know, when they talk about meditation, you know, there's these downloads, right? And I really do believe in them because a lot of times I've been interviewed and people ask me like, how did you do this? How did you do that? How do you learn these different things? And a lot of times ideas and things are just downloaded to me where it's like, oh, okay, you know, it's like almost like I'm the actor in the play. But if we go back to your original question
Yeah.
about flying, so I was terrified, and I thought, okay, well, there's a flight school here in Burlington, and I'll just go and learn how to be a co-pilot. And so from the very first, if anybody ever wants to take, it's called a discovery flight. You know, I was hooked. Like when I you know, ran the plane down the runway and pitched up. Like every time I see a runway when I'm flying, it's like Fred Flintstone remember Fred Flintstone?
Oh,
He'd be
yes.
bat, 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 bat. He'd go crazy. So when I see a
Yes.
runway, it's like my heart, it's just like, oh, it's such a high. It's just such a high to land an airplane. And that's why I put my camera up on the dash a lot of times, and I'll take my landings and I'll put them up on Facebook because people, they like to see how that works. So anyhow, the co-pilot thing went right out the window, and I went right through, and I did my my PPL, which is your private license, and then I did my instrument rating, and which is instrument rating is when you're flying an IMC, you can't see anything. And the whole thing about aviation too is it's all these abbreviations, and so when you're studying, there's hundreds and hundreds of abbreviations. You're like, how am I ever going to remember this? And you actually do. You remember everything. So it's been, you know, learning for me has always been like, you know, be a lifelong student. You know, I'm very academic. So are my daughters. And so I was just always learning and learning in my career, more courses, more designations, and you know, because you can help people more. And then excuse me, in life, the more you learn, the more you experience. So I've been able to take the plane. So I've met some really cool ladies, like I said on Facebook. Beware, because I will pick you And I have picked people and taken them on trips. Like one girl, I flew her out to Nanaimo, BC and back. Then we went up to the Yukon and back. And then I met somebody else, actually made her quit her job. And we went to the Okanagan Valley together. And it was so cool because by the time I took her, I had my instrument rating. And we went all the way out to BC and back. And IMC couldn't see a thing because it was just storm after storm. And we decided to videotape it and post on Facebook. This is like when I was new to Facebook. We didn't know where we were. We'd have the gas guy hold the the phone for us. And, I'd be like, well, welcome to, somewhere in, I'd be in the wrong place, right? It was like, where the hell are we, right? So, because we kept deviating. And I remember they don't like you to land in major airports. And I remember I did my first landing down to minimums in the Winnipeg airport. So they don't want small planes in there. But I was exhausted from flying and I couldn't see. And I was like, I'm going to land in Winnipeg and get myself some fuel and go talk to the weather guys because they have a big weather station there. And it was like, I had to come all the way down. So when you come down to minimums, what it means is that you can't see anything and you break out at like 200 feet. And then it's like, well, runway, land, right? And I mean, it's such a rush. Like, it's just such a rush because you have the education, but then you have to practice the skills and make sure that you can get that plane down to the ground.
Yeah.
So I've got I won't take up your time in this, but I have a ton of aviation stories, and I've met so many fabulous people traveling because you're just instant friends, right? Like I was just down back at SimCom again doing some training in the Orlando area, and this guy comes over to me, and because he can see Charlie Golf, so that means it's a Canadian airplane. So he says to me, like, he's like in my backyard practically. He lives like 10 minutes north of me. And I mean, go figure, right? In Kissimmee Airport, I meet a stranger who lives 10 minutes from my house. So it's like, because he sees the Charlie Golf on the plane, and he's like, oh, where are you from? So it's kind of neat.
That's so neat. It must be an amazing community of people. And so you got your pilot license in 2012.
Yep.
Right. So how long did it take, Whitney? Like, is it a full
Forever.
year or okay?
Forever. I go down in the Guinness World Book of Records for the dumbest pilot. Don't give up. Do not give up. One of the problems that I had was in my landings. What would happen would be that I would freeze. So I had different instructors all taking a run at me to try to get Whitney to learn how to land her plane without doing this down the runway or whatever, or flaring too high. So what would happen as I was coming down, a smart guy actually figured it out. I was freezing. So before I landed, I don't know, 50 feet above the ground, whatever it was, I was freezing. So I couldn't hear the instructor beside me because I was frozen in peril. And then once the plane landed, I had no memory of what happened from the past 50 feet and how I got down. So we had to get beyond that. So the thing is, it's such a good lesson in life because don't give up because you're afraid of something. There's nothing more paralyzing when you're coming down in an airplane to the pavement and you have to keep your nose down. Like you don't get to land with your nose up in the air. Your nose and your head and your eyeballs are going down to that pavement. And so the feeling is, oh my God, I'm going to smack on that runway. And so practicing it, like, I don't know, 1,000 times, it's finally like, yeah, I know how to do this now. And I'm so addicted to doing it. So just when I was away, I had to go do 20 landings, right, in the turbine, because I'm practicing a much larger airplane now. So
yeah, amazing. So you did a training
yeah.
in October.
No, it was December. Yeah.
Oh, in December, right. Okay. And that was what elevated you to the big larger aircraft? Is that what the training was for? Okay.
Yeah, I had been training in the plane, but I had to literally go and take the course because in Canada, it's a rating in Canada. So there, there's commercial ratings, and there's multi-engine ratings, and then there's a TBM rating. And so I went and did that rating. So,
Jesus.
and
Okay.
we're going to look it up. We're going to look it up, but
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that I'm the only female in Canada
Okay.
that has that rating outside of a commercial pilot who flies for a living. So somebody who flies for a living, that's different. They would have multi-engine, they would have different ratings. But as a private pilot, because there's only 20 of those planes in Canada. So I think that I'm the first one that did it. So I had just got to spend a little bit of time and get, fact check that. And then
Yes. Oh,
I'm pretty sure.
incredible. That was
Yeah.
going to be my next question for you. How many women have done this? And do you know, I mean, how many female pilots do we have in Canada? Do you know, like that are, on the aircraft size that you started in?
You know something, I used to have stats on how many private pilots there are in North America that actually have their instrument rating. So I
Okay.
mean, so what? Like I'm like, like instrument rating is like this for pilots. Like most of them just go out and get their private pilot's license.
So
They
what
don't
does
go.
instrument rating mean? What does
Oh,
that mean?
that's probably your toughest course. They all say that instrument rating is probably the toughest course of anything in life. Yeah.
Okay. And is that like all of the technology within the airplane? Like,
That's so
what
you
does it
can
mean?
fly in IMC conditions. So when you can't see, so there's a whole new,
Oh,
when you're flying into the clouds, like you're in it's a whole different set of rules, everything. So,
God.
and the test, the NRAT test, they say is one of the most difficult tests of anything to take. Like outside of aviation,
Yeah.
it's very difficult. So, yeah,
Right.
yeah, it was a bear to write it, but again,
Yeah.
it just takes time, stamina. It's the same thing as me having my charter. You've got it up here, charter life underwriter. I mean, there's a lot of people in Canada that have a CLU designation, right? So you just got to work at it, right? It's
Yeah.
not. It's not. I can tell you that I'm not a genius, and I just like read this stuff and go, yeah, okay, I got it. I remember. So I have a really big counter here in my kitchen. It's like 11 feet long, and when you're doing your instrument rating or your PPL, there's no book of like, here, go get this book and read it and you can become a pilot. And then,
Okay.
go get this book and you can get your instrument rating. It's not like that. You buy like 7 different books and then you start researching through the books and reading. Some of them are written by lawyers, so it's very wordy and it's not in sequence. So it's not like you can start at the beginning and come to the end. Because they don't want you reading and memorizing. You have to search out your answers. So when you actually go to take your exam, you're well read. Like you cannot, if somebody gave you the exam and said, okay, here, you can cheat and read it beforehand, that's not even going to help you at all.
Oh,
Like you
you really
really,
got to know it.
you have to
Yeah.
know it. It's like, like Monica, I was telling you when I was flying back here late yesterday, because I had to get back for this interview. So I broke a rule of, not taking off, never leave your airport flying into worse condition. So I did 2. Right. One of them was
I was
there.
gonna say we could have rescheduled.
Yeah, no, it's okay. I wanted to get back, but the
Yeah.
thing is, and that is a dangerous thing, get theiritis. That's what actually kills pilots. But there was a line of storms. You never fly through a line of storms ever. These were in Florida, which makes them like 100 times worse because you've got so much convective activity that just pops up at the second. I loved your interview with Kim McDonald,
Oh yeah.
the weather girl, who she's talking, and it's like, yeah, people are always like, oh, the weather person is wrong, and blah 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 blah. It's like, hey, you know what? You want to know something about the weather? You go fly an airplane and then come back with a dumbass remark like that, okay? Because the weather
Yeah.
is constantly moving. It's like heart surgery. It's not a perfect science, right? Things are changing all the time. And so what you see on your radar and your, whatever your Garmin, whatever you're using to decipher your weather, it doesn't mean anything. Once you get up there, it's like everything has changed. So I had that to fly into and through, which was pretty wild. And I even had to take off the autopilot. I got so bad. And then I had to come back into Toronto, all through the ice and the sleet storm and all of that was going on, right? And that was, I didn't break out. I couldn't see the runway. I remember I couldn't see the runway at all at 1,000 feet. So I can't remember where I broke out, but it was like I knew I would get down. So
Jeez. The other thing we talked a little bit about off camera that fascinated me that I never even considered is when this, like seeing the horizon properly. It reminded me
oh,
of when people go like, scuba diving and they get narked because they don't know if they're going up or down. Like,
yeah. Well, yeah, so
yeah,
you
that's
lose that.
crazy.
You lose that. So actually, that was a
Yeah,
moment in flying through that storm, and we were bouncing all over the place, right? Because it was just
yeah,
crazy. And ATC was rerouting everybody, like all the commercial planes, everybody. And instead of giving us headings, he's giving us fixes. So you're either trying to dial them in or put them in on your touch screen. And when you're all over like this, your hands don't work very well. And then
yeah,
then one thing led to another to finally like gotta turn off the autopilot, and like this is really screwed up. And then I
yeah.
noticed when the autopilot went off, the plane just started to go like this. And that's when you
Wow.
gotta so that's when it's really important to know that there is no freaking out at that point. There's no freaking
Mm.
out. There is, this plane is turning sideways. Let's get it straight. Let's get everything all in. Call ATC and say, I need a heading. Okay. Game over with trying to move all the planes around. Start giving us headings, because we can't put 5 letters in times 3. Go to this fix, go to this fix, go to this fix. It's like, 15 letters got to go in, and I have no control over my hand. Right. And so that's
Yeah.
what'll happen in a small airplane when you fly through a storm.
Oh my goodness. Okay. The other thing, like, that blows my mind. So, like a lot of us with our partners will be driving in our cars, and, a lot of women say, "Oh, my husband drives me nuts. He's sitting there beside me and he's telling me how to drive." And that's like a common argument amongst couples, right? And here's Whitney with her guy up in the air,
Yeah.
and you're going through all this stress. Like I'm
Yeah.
thinking of my husband and I experiencing that together. I can't even imagine. Like,
Yeah. So yeah,
like we
here's
get along well, but something would be like it would be so stressful,
what's really neat
And
about it is it's called the level of equality, right? So
mhm,
I earned that.
yeah.
So between the education, the strategic thinking, and trust, right? That there's always a PIC, right? So if you're flying with two pilots, there's always a PIC. So that's your pilot in command, right? Your pilot in command can lose it, okay, and that's fine. Or so you'll jockey that back and forth if need be. But it's to be able to work a crew and teamwork together like that. It honestly is the most rewarding thing, and to be able to get to that spot where you have that equal respect. So for
Mm.
example, I don't really like taking people in my plane who are not pilots, but I will. And I usually say to them, can you do me a favor? Can you be quiet till we get up
Mm.
and get going? And, don't be taking pictures all over my face when I'm, trying to get us up to altitude. So usually they're okay. They'll be quiet. But getting another pilot in with me that's annoying is a problem, because I'm flying new equipment. Most people aren't flying new equipment. So when you're sitting beside me all of a sudden, because guys like to tell girls what to do all the time, it's like, if you don't own
Mm.
it, don't you dare tell me what to do, because you'll be out of the plane and you'll never be back in it again, because that stuff will kill you, right? If you do
Yeah.
not own and work that equipment, you cannot sit in a simulator or some gearbox on TV or whatever it is that people do and go and fly an airplane. It doesn't work that way. Simulator time is excellent for all your procedures and approaches and emergency procedures and stuff like that. But when you are up in the sky, it is a different thing.
God, that's amazing.
We do not get our pilot license on sim time.
Yeah. Huh. And Whitney, do you ever go up with people who are just learning to fly as like a co-pilot, or have you ever done anything like that where you've
Uh,
assisted someone?
no, no,
No.
I would take them with me in the right
Yeah.
seat of my plane, but I won't train somebody. I'm not, so I don't have that rating. That's a rating to be a
Okay.
trainer. I do have a great girlfriend who's a trainer, but I don't have that designation, nor do I want
Mhm.
it because I I don't want to teach people how to fly.
Yeah, no, that's fine. That's
No,
not for everybody.
no.
Yeah.
I'll
Wow.
teach people how to get wealthy. I'll teach people how to build their
Yeah.
businesses. I'll teach people, how to give and be happy and,
Yeah.
reciprocate and stuff like that, but
Yeah.
not flying.
Amazing. So the other question I have for you is like everything you do in your world, to me, as an outsider looking in, is intense.
Yeah.
What from wallet to wealth it's a separate entity. It's a whole business on its own. You're raising $170,000 for Halton Women's Place. You're partnering with other business women like me. You're constantly empowering all of us. And then you've got your wealth management business, which is
Firm.
your own. You
Yeah.
own your commercial property. You've got all this, plus aviation. It's not plus like I like to ride my bike on the weekends. No, it's I'm going up in an airplane. I'm landing 20 times and,
Yeah.
while away on a trip,
Yeah.
doing all these things. So, Whitney, I feel like I want to know the magic behind that, as in the compartmentalizing of being able to achieve all of these different things and do them so well, because you're not a half-asser.
No.
Anybody that knows you knows it's not, we'll do a little bit of this, a little bit of that. You are all in with everything. So,
Yeah.
and you're always smiling, you're always happy, and you seem to be really enjoying your life. So, I know there's no such thing as balance. We all have stress. It's not to take that away. You do have stress in your life as well, but how do you sort of, if you were giving, let's say you met a frazzled woman who just couldn't keep all these things in her life together, what's the advice that you would give?
Well, okay. So I do compartmentalize. And I remember hearing a speaker years ago saying how unhealthy that it was to compartmentalize. And I
Oh,
noticed that men compartmentalize very well. And I'm a tomboy. I was born a tomboy and I'm still a tomboy. So I do compartmentalize. And I do have females asking me questions. So I try to get them to calm down because you can actually do everything that it is that you would like to do. It's just about organizing time. And I'm not saying that I'm a great organizer, but I'm really good at focus time. So I have focus days, I have free days, and I have buffer days. So my free days are, I was walking on the beach in Harbor Island in Bahamas yesterday, and that was a free day. Flying the airplane back to Toronto was a free day. That's my free time. That's when I'm not answering work emails. I'm not managing my staff. I'm doing my Whitney time. My focus days, they run from midnight to midnight. So follow this because it works. And it's not my idea. I got it from Dan Sullivan. And I would say a lot of my ideas have come from other people. I'm a huge believer in mentorship. I would never be where I am today if I wasn't mentoring with somebody. I'm always mentoring with people. So if I'm talking to you, I'm learning from you. So the focus days are from midnight till midnight, where I get to do money generating exercises. So I'm right on the dot. This is a money making day and I'm making money. And when I do it, I make a lot of money. My buffer days are the days where I have to do all of the planning and paper and I'm always analyzing and spreadsheets and working on your case and whatever like that. So I've got all of that to do, and then I have my free days. And I learned many years ago that the more free days I took, the more money I made. So the
Oh,
less that I worked, the more money I made. So what that meant was I wasn't working for $150 an hour. My brain does not engage in that behavior. Right. So, when I'm engaged in money making activities, I know what my annual salary is, and I know what I need to do to keep doing that. And that's easy to do. The other thing I do is I work like a machine for probably 3 weeks in a month. And then I'm gone for 10 days. So I've done this for years. So people, I've had people call me all sorts of names. Oh, she's a workaholic. She doesn't have time. You'll never get any time with her. And it's like, yeah, it's not true. I have more time than any of you. I'm the one that's
yeah.
on vacation every month. I'm the one that can hop on a plane and take off, like just like tomorrow. If I decided, I think I'm just going to go back to Bahamas because I got a few days. It only takes me like, how long does it take me to get there? It's like, takes me like 3 hours and 15 minutes to get down to Florida. So say 3 hours and 30 minutes and another hour over to Bahamas. So it's like a half a day and I'm on the beach. So, but yeah, so it's really important to have that time organized. And I think also too with raising my daughters, because we were on our own, I had to explain to them that this is my career and these are the hours that I'm going to be working, and that's never going to change, right? So we're going to go on trips and we're going to have all sorts of fun and do stuff. But so between these days and these times, this is what's going on. Every night I will be here for dinner. Every night we will have dinner together as a family. And so I just developed those really organized skills. And then they did the same too. So they're super high achievers and they can get everything. So really you can organize anything that you want. But if people do not take that, me time or that free time. So free time is disengaging. So, how do I do that? Well, I have a team around me, right? So Monica, if you need something, then you're going to check in with my team at work. They're highly trained. They know how to do more stuff than I do, right? They don't have to track me down on the beach and say, Whitney, Monica's calling about her account. Like that doesn't
Yeah.
happen. So yeah.
Oh, that is great advice. I love
But
that.
I'm not done. Like I'm not done. So Wallet to Wealth
Mhm.
is, it's a non-for-profit. And so I want, I really want to, spend a lot of time, helping women to raise up to know that they can do it and that they can, what it is. It's self-esteem. Like for some reason, I guess we're all born with a poor self-esteem. It's just that guys will cover up their poor self-esteem, with ego. I can do that. And they go out and they do it. Right. And girls are like, no, I can't do it. I got to play it safe. No, I better not do that. I'll just do the nest egg. And, like a simple thing is like, I just keep all my money in the bank. I'm not going to invest in it. It's like, well, man, if you knew any idea what this could go to in your life.
Yeah.
So I still play small too, right? Kind of one of the reasons why I thought, no, you know what? I'm going to blast through those storms yesterday, right? Because if I don't learn how to blast through stuff, then I'm not going to know how to survive through it when I get hit by it, like right out of left field, totally not expecting it. So yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love how like the whole aviation thing, it's such a good lesson for life. Like it's teaching you in every aspect of your life as you're going through it. It's so cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a lot really to learn. And I spent many years working on balance. This was a long time ago. And I think that if anyone is working on creating some balance in their lives, we don't come to that in 1 year. It's something that we work at for a really long time, like our balanced behavior of how we speak with one another, how we treat one another, how we are as a mom, how we are as a daughter, how we are as a wife or as a life partner, and the maturity levels. Like we have to really work on that. The only way to work on that is to own our part, right? So it doesn't matter what the other person did. It's about what I did. So I keep my side of the sidewalk clean, right? So what's going on in your life is none of my business unless you're sharing and talking to me about it. But I'm not here to judge you to say whether you're doing something right or wrong. It's about me making sure that I do the things that I need to do. And that really makes me happy, because it, especially too, like in a girls group, because things can suddenly go off the rails, right? And it's like, hey,
Mhm.
just calm down, right?
Yeah.
Because we all have emotions and hormones running through us. We all have them. We get our feelings hurt and we misunderstand things. And so for me,
Yeah.
I just always have to make sure that, that I'm delivering the message as clearly as I can. And if I don't deliver something clearly, then I need to fess up right away and apologize for what I did. Right. Again, like it
Mhm.
doesn't matter what the other person did, because we can't fix that mess. But the more healthier
Yeah.
we are, the more healthier people we invite into our lives, right?
Yeah.
And we've all had a cross to bear, and we've all had things that have happened to us that have hurt, and there's a lot of sad stories in the world, and I've had them, and my friends have had them, and it's part of the journey. I mean, I don't know, like, is hell on earth and then we go to heaven? I don't know, but
Mhm.
supporting excuse me, supporting one another, we all heal with love. We all
Yes,
heal with love.
we
If
do.
you give your family member or partner or whoever it is, whatever's going on in your life, you give them as much love as you possibly can. People will change and grow. So yeah, never
Mhm.
give up on anybody. So
Yeah, that's wonderful. I love that. And giving the love to yourself, that's such a big lesson too, is to just like really, I feel like that for me happened over the pandemic. I'm like, I really love just hanging out with myself. Like I'm
yeah,
having a good time here,
yeah,
and nurturing that and making that a priority because really, like, not to sound morbid, but we don't know how long we have. Do we have, oh, once you're over 50, it's like, do I have 20 years, 30 years? Like, we have no idea. So, when you think about all of the years of worrying about what other people think and maybe saying the wrong thing, you don't want to offend somebody or this, and at some
yeah.
point, you just have to release that and say, I know deep down I'm a good person with good intentions and walk through your life that way. Like, just
Yeah. And
be
I
that,
think that a lot of us were conditioned to be human doings instead of human
Mm,
beings, right? So if you have that overachieving gene, or if you had parents that drove
yeah.
you hard, whatever it was, right? There's a lot of us. And I think that COVID was a time where, a lot of us got to slow down and say, whoa, like I'm doing a lot of stuff here. And, it's like that gerbil or something on the wheel.
Yeah, the
So
hamster on the wheel. Yeah.
yeah. So I
Yeah.
don't feel like that at all. Do I ever feel stressed out? I a common feeling that I have is that I can never get through my pile of work. I have so much, like, the business, I have so much work to do. And then it's like, okay, I'm going to get through this pile. And then, another pile comes. And so right
Mhm.
now I'm saying to myself, well, why don't you just knock it off with the piles? Like, a lot of times I'll work till midnight or 1 a.m. I'll like, it's like, I like what Amy says, I'm pulling an all-nighter, and I'm like, oh man, she's
Yeah.
better than me. She can do it all night long. I used to be able to do that when I
Yeah.
was younger. But mind you, I'm not doing it 365 days a year. That
Mhm.
that's very unhealthy.
Yeah. Yeah. That's right. And once in a while, yeah, an all-nighter can be invigorating. Yes.
If you're creative, but
But
if you're doing math all
yeah.
night long, I don't know. But yeah,
Uh,
balance is
yeah.
is really important. And helping another. So mentoring, have a mentor and then have a mentee behind you, so that we're helping each other. I feel that
Yeah.
as more females are born and they're becoming educated, so we have a lot of females going through university, and they're getting professional positions, and along with that comes some stress from work because you have to perform, but at the same time, you want to raise a family, and then you also want to have a good relationship. And it's really important, if you have an intimate partner, that you actually have and so with intimacy means, I can see into you. I know who you are. I know what your responses are, and I know how you feel. Those are the riches in life, right? The money can buy you things, but the real riches in life are being able to connect to the person or the people that you love, your friends, and to be there for them. It's just, it's powerful, and it feels like life will just keep going. Like, I'm not worried
Mhm.
about dropping dead when I'm 60. If I do, then that's what happens. But I can look
Mhm.
back and say, like, man, my life was so rich with friendships. Like, even back, like,
Mhm.
Monica, I wish we went to high school together. Like,
I know.
we would have had
We had so much fun.
such an awesome time. And like, and again, like, I don't fit into the regular, like, I wasn't
Yeah.
the pretty girl going to school with the nice makeup and hair and nails and all of that stuff, right? I
Yeah.
was the tomboy in the Kodiaks and the lumber jacket, and thinking of all the cool things to do when we were skipping classes, and
Yeah.
and the
It's
music,
so Yes, the
know?
music. That's right. And we do have to plan. I'm so happy that, as soon as I started posting about roller skating, you were like all into it. So
Yeah.
we definitely have to get the Wallet to Wealth ladies together
Yep.
and, do a
Go roller
skate
skating
night
together.
because,
That's fabulous. Fabulous exercise
yeah,
and great music. And I know you were saying on
yeah,
one of your shows, you're talking about the music from the 80s. And it's true.
yes.
Like, the music in the 80s, I mean, 70s, all the disco, but 80s was just, it was a mix of everything. It was just like, there's nothing better than, BTO rock and roll. Like, those guys from Winnipeg were like just so
Oh, they were
awesome.
so,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God, I can picture you now in your Kodiaks and your lumberjack with the PTO going.
Yeah. Yeah. And the
You
roller
know,
skating. And I
yeah,
used to go do that.
perfect. Oh, I love that, Whitney. So good.
Yeah.
Another thing that I wanted to say publicly where you've really been such a good influence on me as well was you graciously invited me to your cottage for a gathering. And that was back when we were like, do we go? Do we not go? Like with the COVID
COVID.
and it was all these women, nobody knew each other, and we all just came together.
Yeah.
And
That was
and
so
everybody
much
was
fun.
it was so
That was
much
like
fun.
we were sitting around. Remember that the first time we were there, like, none of us left the kitchen. We all just stayed at that table for like 2 nights in a
Yeah.
row. And the first night we're like, okay, so how do you know? And I think, were you asked
Yeah.
first? And you're like, I don't know anybody here. And everyone was like, I don't know anybody here. And like, what did we have? 11
Yeah,
girls, and nobody knew each other. And
I
and
know.
so it turned out to be like, somebody says, well, how did you pick the people? And it's like, oh, it's just like, I don't know. We just all got along. We were all of us were
Uh-huh.
like unique in our own way. Like, we had our own
Yeah.
zone of genius.
But it
So
it was such an interesting, like, it speaks volumes to you again about who you're attracting into your circle, right? It was like all these women, nobody knows anybody. And we all are like a sisterhood now. Like now we're like thick as thieves. Like we're
yeah,
all in touch all the time. And
yeah,
that's from a couple of weekends together. But one of the things, the first time I went, I remember like over COVID, I'd been just, like feeling up, down, menopause, all this crap. And I was enjoying my wine and everything. But I was feeling like crap. And I talked to you about it. And you said, oh, I don't drink. I was done with that years ago. And I was like, you don't? You don't? And it really stuck with me. And then it was like a year later, I'm like, I don't need this anymore. And I feel so good now. Like I feel like how you were when I met you, like because you had so much energy and you were so and it's not like I was like I had a drinking problem. I just knew that the alcohol was not doing me any favors. It was like
yeah,
messing with my hormones. It was making me feel sluggish in the mornings. I was dependent on it because it was like a way to relax. And I'm like, Whitney's kick ass and she doesn't drink. Like
Yeah.
it really, I felt like a little teenager, like this girl's
Yeah.
cool, but she's not smoking cigarettes in the, like,
Yeah, you know
yeah,
what's kind of funny is that a lot of people followed me with that. Like I don't know, it's been 22 years or more that I haven't drank, but people used to
yeah,
kind of follow me way back because we used to go out and hardcore dance, right? Like it was like a Madonna,
yeah,
right? Like get me on the dance floor and I was on there 4 or 5 hours and drinking gallons of water. And so we used to put like everyone would get their drinks and put it in the center. And these were my friends that I used to party with. And they're like, oh God, no, when you hang around with her, you don't have time to drink. Like, who's got time to get off the dance floor to go and get a beer, right? Like, just put the water
yeah.
in the center and then dance all night long. And, crazy. It's just, yeah, it's just, I don't have any time in my life to do that. I mean, think about it
Mhm.
of how much it's a rapacious creditor. It really is. You
Mhm.
can't go and, if you're feeling like crap the next day, or, I can't be flying an airplane and I have a hangover, or I need to have a drink or something like that. So, I mean,
Mhm.
I do have friends that drink, and I mean, it doesn't matter to me, right? It's just,
Yeah.
I'm okay without it. So,
Yeah, yeah, it's great. And even like in all of your discussions about manifesting, your dreams, and like I find that without the alcohol, there's so much like I can really focus now, whereas before I didn't have the clarity. And also the receiving of those messages like you were talking about, like ideas coming in and everything. It's like it just, yeah,
yeah.
when you have that clear head, it's so great. So thank you for that. And I did want to say, like, same, I'm not judging anybody who likes to have a drink. Like that's not what it's about. It was just for me specifically, hearing you say that when I was feeling like shit from it was like, oh my God, I don't have to do this. Like I thought I had to, but I actually don't. Because,
No.
it's like in the culture too, like the European,
Yeah.
it's,
Oh,
we
yeah, they
do
all
that.
drink. Whole family
Yeah,
does.
since we were 10 years old. Have a glass of
Yeah.
wine with your dinner.
Yeah. No, it's
Yeah,
it's, it's
yeah.
kinda neat, and again, like, that's the intimacy and the honesty between friendships that where,
Mhm.
we all it's like, my fingernails are chipped.
I love them though. I actually did a fast paint because I was looking at your nails going, I gotta
I
get
pa
something
well,
on
you know
there.
what I did? I painted I do my own fingernails because I don't wanna pay somebody to paint them.
Yeah. Well, good for you because you know what they're finding now? You know those lights that people put their hands under for the
Yeah,
drying?
yeah,
They're finding out women are getting like skin cancer on their
yeah,
hands. So
I heard.
anybody who does that, put some sunblock on your hands if you're
Yeah,
getting your nails
I've
done.
never had those, I forget what they're called, but
They're
I've never.
like a gel nail or
Yeah,
whatever.
or
Yeah.
the other ones, I forget what they're called, but anyways, there's a real common one that people get done. They were not gels, they're the
Yeah.
other thing, but I've never had them. I just have my own nails, so
Yeah.
yeah.
Good.
But,
Good.
yeah, so I just, our next event, if anyone is
Yes.
still on, because we've been going pretty long here. Our next
Yeah.
event is, March 30th. It's a Thursday night. Sorry, Monica. I was thinking, like, if I just sequence this stuff, I wouldn't have to think so hard, make them on Thursday. But the next one after that is
Yeah.
April 21st, which is not a Thursday. And that's
Okay.
Tony Harris Taylor. She's flying up from Texas, and she is the
Nice.
queen of networking. My goodness, that woman, that's an event you don't want to miss. Like, she is so good at what she does. So the one in March is Wendy and Sydney Holmes, and they're fabulous on manifesting for your business. And so she and I
Yeah.
do that live every Monday. Yeah, every Monday morning. And it's interesting because while I'm doing the live with her, I found like all sorts of like neat changes going on in my business. And I was like, oh, I mean, it's
Right.
just so true. Like, these things can come to you. It's like, it goes back to, I'm a classical pianist, and we didn't talk about that. But so I went all the way to my grade 10 piano. I was really good because I'm Eastern European and I had a natural talent, so I could play really, really well. And my theory was, if I can hear it, I can play it. And I have an incredible ear for classical music. So what I play is all full of like feeling and heart and soul. Like, I mean, Chopin was my
Oh,
favorite because I could just play it so well. So that stayed with me because people was like, man, does she ever have a good touch? How'd she get that? And it's like, yeah, it's from my ear, right? So if you're not singing in tune, I can hear that. If I can hear if you're in rhythm. So people ask me, is this pianist good? And I can tell right away whether they're good or
yeah.
they're not good. So it's the same thing in life, right? If you can
Mm.
see it, right? Like me when I was 2, it was like, oh man, I'm going to be managing like massive buckets of money. And as I went through my life, I was like, how's this going to happen? Right. Like I'm going to high school and thank God I was in STEM. Like everything with me was math, science, chemistry, biology. Like
Yeah.
I was, I mean, art. Oh my God. Like Monica and Amy, like I
Oh,
am like opposite, right?
if
Like
we'd
you
all gone to
two,
high school together, I could have done
well,
your
I could
art
have done your
homework,
homework.
and yeah, you could have done my math. I would have passed math.
Yeah, I would have done all your math here. Math is so simple for me. It always was. But so if you can see it, so if you
Mhm.
feel that, like I know some people say that they feel they can never get ahead. And so if you can see it and believe it that you can get ahead, you don't have to know the details of what it is that's going to take you there, right?
Mm.
You just have to see it in your mind that this is what you can do. Like my house that I'm sitting in, I don't even know how many years I've been living here for, but it's the last house that I bought. And when I wasn't married very long, I suck in the marriage department, and that's fine because I'm not planning to get married. But I remember I was going to buy had to buy what I chose to buy out my husband because I didn't want to move my kids, right? And I remember thinking like, oh man, like I live in Millcroft, like barely anybody lives here, right? How am I going to do this, right? And yeah, and you know what I did? I went to the bank, and I know everyone's got these big mortgages now, but back then, like 25 years ago, we didn't have big mortgages, right? And I remember going to the bank, and I had to get this big mortgage to make this equalization payment. And I thought like, geez, like I can't believe I'm borrowing this kind of money, and it's going to take me like 110 years to pay it off. And I blew that thing off in like 6 years, gone. And that was like a long time ago. That's probably like 18 years ago. And so here's what I did, right? It's called a leap of faith, right? Just take a jump, take a leap of faith, and don't analyze it. Don't get into the analytical
Ah,
bullshit. People get into those analyzing conversations with me. I just exit stage left. I don't want to hear it, right? Because people that are they get into this paralysis, right? The analysis paralysis, and forget it.
yeah.
So I did what I did, and I thought I got to figure out how I'm going to do this, right? So I know how to make money. And okay, so you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to borrow a big ass amount of money and I'm going to put it in the stock market. And I'm going to wait. And I did that. And it didn't take very long. I don't know what it was. It felt like forever. It might have been 3 years, but that freaking account went up so high. I remember saying, you know what? I'm going to cash in my chips, take my big fat check, and I'm paying off my house. Done. So it wasn't that hard. I didn't have
So
to
good.
work. I just had to take a
Yeah.
chance and say, hey, I need to do another leverage, right? I'm just going to borrow. And I don't recommend this to my clients. I'm just saying this is what I did, right? So I need to do this. And that's what I'm going to do because I got to get rid of this mortgage thing. So I did that.
Amazing.
hmm Yeah,
Oh, Whitney, that's
anyone can do stuff like that. So anybody who's feeling like they can't, get ahead in life, if you keep thinking that you can't get ahead in life, that's
mhm,
exactly what's going to happen. I can't get ahead. I can't get ahead. Right? Just
right.
keep telling all those angels up there, and all the mosquitoes and whatever. It's like, yep, I
Yeah.
suck, and I'm never going to get ahead. And we're like, okay, next, because we got this kid over here, Whitney, who's like, hey, the sky's the limit, right? I can keep doing shit. I know how to multitask. I can write articles, man. I wasn't an English major,
Yeah.
right?
Oh my God, Whitney, I just imagine we need a poster of you in your airplane with the sky's the limit.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
it
with
is.
the money falling from the
Yeah, with the money.
sky.
Yeah.
That's so
Yeah.
cool. So even like I know I want to respect your time here.
Yeah.
This is just so exciting. But I wanted to ask you as well, like for people who are looking at like they're carrying debt, um, and I'm not talking about mortgage debt, I'm talking about credit card or line of credit or whatever. Like, would you say if they had the extra money to pay off that debt, get rid of that, or actually do a similar strategy to what you did and just pack it away for 5 years so it can grow and then wipe out the debt
Yeah, well, it's
later? Like, what's
you know,
better?
that's a leverage. I mean, there's kind of two ways to get money in your life. Jessica Marie, I mean, I remember she stirred me in a moment. There's two kinds of money, and there's cash and there's debt, right? So it depends on how you using debt. Companies use debt, and so I've always said, number one, this is important. Don't buy anything unless it's an asset. Stop today. Okay. I started this when I was 19 years old. I made a rule that I will not purchase anything that is not going up in value. So the only thing I bought used cars. I don't think I didn't buy my first new car until I was into my late 30s. I had tons of money. I could have bought all sorts of brand new cars. I never did. I always drove, a $5,000 cash car. I didn't care. I got in, it got me from A to B. I don't have any ego about that stuff, right? I just don't, if you don't spend money unless you're going to invest it on something that appreciates, right? You only have so much money. So why don't you just put it into things that go up in value? You don't need anything. I would say today at my age, there's nothing that I need. And it's not like I have a lot of stuff. It's just that I don't need any of that stuff. So buying, if you're going to we leverage into our homes, right? Like all of our homes are leveraged. Some people might be lucky and buy their first house cash. Good. But that's not, that's probably like that many people. So you leverage when you buy your first home, you pay whatever, and in time, it goes up and the debt goes down. So you can also leverage into the stock market. You just have to be real careful with stuff like that. And back when I did it, the interest, you guys are all crying about the interest rates. I mean, really, really, come on, like back when I was doing my stuff, the interest rates were way higher than what they are now. Like I never had the 3% mortgage. I never had the 5% mortgage. I never had the 7% mortgage. I never had that. I had 13% mortgages. People had 20% mortgages, right? Like it's like, I don't feel sorry right now, but when you create that debt, you've got to find a way to get rid of it and don't do it anymore. Just stop it. Like you just don't need those things. Like drive a used car, take the bus. Hey, I took the bus. I used to take the bus. Oh, I've lost you, Monica, on your volume. I've lost you. Surface camera audio. Sounds like it's working. I can't hear you. Bye-bye. I can't hear Monica anymore. But you know what? We're over an hour, so we should get off.